I saw a question pop up. Let's see. Okay, what I would like to do, if they're willing, is invite, let's see, Shannon, would you like me to, I'm gonna open your mic and allow you to ask your question instead of me reading the question. Would that be okay?
Good morning. Thank you very much for the presentation. I had a question. So if you're not thinking about an actual brick and mortar retail and you're instead selling something online, what additional considerations or how might you adapt some of the tips around having your product jump off the shelf?
A lot of the same principles still apply, depending on the platform that the retailer is using. So if you have the opportunity to have close-up images, which maybe allow someone to look at probably the back panel to see ingredients or the story that you want to tell. So different views of the same package. You still need to make your product stand out, because often in online, you won't be the only product that will show up in a search. You might be looking at maybe 10 to 12 other products on a page. And so you need to be able to stand out from those other products, just as you would in a grocery store shelf or in a drugstore, wherever you buy chocolate. Now, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next I would like to invite Lynn. I'm gonna invite Lynn to talk. So Lynn, your mic should be activated and you can come in and ask your question.
Hi,
Hi,
thank
Lynn.
you so much for this wonderful conversation. It's so timely. I'm just met with a printer last week to talk about packaging. I'm moving from an envelope, a coin envelope type of system and sticker for my small batch chocolate into something a little bit more beautiful. And I want to piggyback on Shannon, because I also am not selling through a brick and mortar. I'm selling through a chocolate club, and I try to market that more as a luxury product because it's a subscription. I would love to hear any thoughts that you might have about, how to actually, what to consider for conveying quality and luxury in the packaging.
A lot of that has to do with the materials that you use and other design components. When I worked with in the wine industry, things like foil stamping or are used a lot to suggest that something is more upmarket, higher value. But that's also an expensive approach to updating your packaging. Now, you mentioned that you're currently using an envelope. There's nothing wrong with that. That can be very different from what other people are offering. And often those envelopes can be resealable.
I find that my clients have a hard time with the storage of that. So if they only want a quarter bar, they're having a hard time getting it back into the envelope in a way that is satisfying.
Okay. There could be other ways of executing that in the shape of the envelope before you fold and glue it. So those could be things to discuss with a designer, and usually it's not a major hurdle for the packaging manufacturer. It's just a different cutting die to make the shape out of a sheet of cardboard.
Pardon my interruption. Lynn, is it possible if I promote you to panelists, do you have your packaging and you can share with us so that we can see? Would that be okay?
Yeah, just you have to give me a second though, so I have to go get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, no problem.
Take another question and I'll come back.
We can also tell all the other participants, if you want to show your package and get some input or feedback, this is time, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
anybody that would like to do that, just use the raise hand feature at the bottom and we'll promote you to panelists because we have a good amount of time. So it may be a chance to get feedback from the from the attendees as well as from Ron and Emilio. While we're waiting for Lynn to come back, would you like to come on and join the conversation? You had some great questions as a chocolate lover and a buyer of chocolate. Oh, let's do this. I'm gonna promote the panelist. Okay, Lynn, you've been promoted, so you are able to open your camera.
Lynn's been
And
promoted.
he's been promoted. Emilio, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna do the same for you. You're on mute, Lynn, so whenever you're ready.
It's a little warmer here.
Yes.
So wonderful to be here. You guys do such great work, and I wish I could come more often, but here's my current packaging. It's just a black coin envelope with a sticker. The sticker, I do handwrite the names of the chocolate, and because it's such small batch, I treat it like a limited edition painting.
Oh, I like that.
And then yeah, so people say, what's that number? And I'm like, well, I only made 24 bars, and this is the 5th one of the series. So where I being in Panama, the access to materials is a little challenging. So so here it's just a opening. I haven't sealed it, but a seal. And then here's where it gets really challenging, is in the actual inner wrapping, which is actually just a foil and a wax paper put together. So it's pretty homely, and I'm really hoping to upgrade that. But because it is the tropics, I really do need to protect things well.
Yes.
And then the putting it back into the envelope once you've taken a bite and folded down the foil, that's where it gets challenging.
Well, the foil actually is good. It protects the chocolate, so it protects it from oxygen, which can affect the fats, the cocoa butter, because over time fats can oxidize, they become rancid, for example. It's also opaque, and it's quite easy to reseal, reclose. You just fold it. It has no memory. So that's why it's used so widely. The challenge with foil for some people is that if you get really light gauge foil, it's easy to tear. The foil that's used in most packaging is anywhere between 6 and 7 microns. So we're talking really, really, really thin. You wouldn't be able to work with that. But household foil or lighter gauge foil, I'd say stay with that. When I see your package and I see how you're using the dates like that, something that you could consider is doing it digitally. Because with digital, you don't have to worry about printing plates or things like that. And if you wanted to have something sequentially numbered, so number 1, number 2, number 3, you can do that.
Yeah, you're right.
So if you're looking for a supplier, look for someone maybe who can do digital, because you'll find that with digital printing, the cost is a little bit more on a per unit basis, but the setup costs are almost negligible. And so it tends to work out in the long run to be a less expensive option. And you're not forced into buying large quantities at one time. So there's a lot more flexibility for you.
My other comment is I find that this packaging doesn't really give the opportunity to tell a story. And I find that the storytelling becomes, it seems like in chocolate marketing, that's a very important part of the story. So, that's one of the reasons that I'm thinking about redoing this packaging, where it would be like a fold open, like a opening where you could actually have the story of where this chocolate comes from. And I find that it just feels like my background is in graphic design, so I have some understanding of this, but it feels like that storytelling option is a missed opportunity in this package. But then again, people are in my club, so they're on my email and I'm sending that information. So perhaps it's just not as important, except for if they give the bar as a gift.
May I ask a quick question, just for clarity for everyone? Ron, you said to do a digital label as opposed to what she currently has, and I'm not sure I understand what that means.
Okay. Right now, it looks like Lynn is handwriting some details about the batch information.
Okay, so you're just talking about having those details digitally printed?
It could be done in a font that looks like a script. So there's lots of ways of executing it. And another way that you could address the storytelling is to simply have a label on the back.
Yeah, that's right.
And I see in the chat that someone has also suggested you could have something like a QR code.
Yeah.
And if you have a QR code, someone could scan that and go into your website and see. That would be ideal in a lot of respects, because people are always looking for ways of driving traffic to their websites. So they learn more about the manufacturer, they learn more about the kinds of products that they offer. So something like that could be a door opener for you. So how does that sound?
That's a great idea.
Miss Lynn, are you open to a little feedback from a lowly, humble lover and buyer of?
Of course, this is invaluable.
For me, that hand-numbered and this is just like sort of matter of difference of opinion in aesthetics. Being not only a chocolate lover and someone who saves the wrappers, but also, sort of have an art background, that idea of hand numbering, like if someone only makes 10 prints, they're numbered. You've got 1 out of 9. To say that I've got number 7 out of a batch of 20 bars, that's, to me, that, like, I got a little goosebumps just thinking about that. So it really is sort of a matter of opinion. I kind of love that hand numbered, when you talked about creating a luxury concept or giving the sort of building that ideology or appearance of a luxury brand, having that hand numbered, I don't know, I like it. I do like it.
What I like about it is that I think handwriting, nothing says artisanal like handwriting. But I suggested if you could do that digitally, I wouldn't necessarily do it fancy. So do it in an elegant font. Do it in something that looks like handwriting, if you were going to do it that way, because it's all about image, and you've got
to get in there.
Yeah.
Mrs. Barlow, jump in.
Okay, we'll wait for everyone to finish. I'm not in a hurry. So, yeah. The only thing is, as a consumer, because, like I get to see a lot of, customers packaging and everything. And then the two things, what I have seen some places, in the thing, instead of, sticking the wrapper, the flap, you make a cut and you just insert it inside. So make that little bit like a sharper edge.
I understand.
That will be easier. So people can store it back and they don't have to worry. Or I have even seen some packages, even on the side, it opens up and you can put the tabs in and the package goes back. And I like the, limited edition, but you said some people did not understand what that number is. So you have to say above that it's a limited edition. Then they understand what that 5/24 means. Otherwise, they think you made it on May 24th.
Very good point. Very good point. Thank you.
So
This is
like the percentage also you can say the cocoa percentage or something like description, because not like you said, you are giving to your club members that they might know, but if they're gifting it to somebody else, you want them to become your member.
yeah, yeah.
When
So
Well, I
when
just
you
want to
think,
comment. I just want to comment real quick about the QR code. It's actually really brilliant because you can always update your website, and it's so much harder to
Mhm.
update packaging. So, thank you, Cliff, for that suggestion.
here's another idea. So I tend to borrow ideas from other industries.
Mm,
So in California, there was a brand that basically told a story, like a novel. Each
mm.
label on the wine told like a chapter of the story. So
Oh,
you had to come back and buy again and again, to find out, did Sally marry Josh, or did they break up? Did they get back together again? That kind of stuff. So when you have something where you're talking limited edition, think about art or stories.
yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a fun idea too, because the way it works is I develop a collection of 12 bars, and it goes out over a 3-month period, depending where in the world people are. And to say, continued on the pucker up bar, so they know to go look at the pucker up bar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
fun.
you could use that in a sense as a guided tasting. So
That
start
is so
with
fun.
something like milk chocolate and take them up progressively into like an 80 or 85% cacao bar, just
Beautiful.
basic dark chocolate.
Gosh, this 5 minutes has been invaluable. I just want to say thank you so much for your generosity.
Well, to me, this is fun. Um, you know, uh, I just enjoy seeing other people's packaging, and I love the questions that you ask.
Thanks.
Okay, we have another brave soul who wants to get their packaging reviewed. So I've promoted Sharon to a panelist, and come on in, show us what you got.
Okay, so Joe's my husband and we're working in our basement. We're just starting out. And so we've got some small equipment, but we were giving them to friends and family that really love to receive chocolate. But right now we have transparent, and I print some labels out. I don't know if you can see it, but this one is from 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗪, and we did a dark milk. I have the percentage. And what else do I have on here? Oh, it's heirloom chocolate, so I promote that. And then I have the ingredients on it. So we don't have any company name or anything yet, but figure that we like the transparency. We like being able to we hear from our customers to, we were eating this one, so you can just you can open it up.
The Ziploc.
Yeah, Ziploc, and then reseal it. We were thinking maybe getting some kind of heat on the top to, seal in the freshness.
Yes.
But it's just, on the back, we got these from Amazon. And just, print the labels depending on what it is. I can change the percentage. And I think we had a Columbia that we did a couple different percentages, and I just had a little spot where I could write it in. I mean, it was just saving money doing that. But I don't know, just getting your feedback. And then we also, sometimes we have something included. We sprinkle it on the back, like nibs or nuts, dried raspberries or something. And then we turn that so that people can see it, so that they're seeing, it tracks them to see what they're eating. And I find that, that's kind of a hit. So,
so a couple of comments. So there's some positives and some negatives about the packaging. Let me talk about the positives. You've got something that's very different from the way most people present their chocolate bars, because you're in a pouch, and it's a resealable pouch, so that's good. You mentioned about heat sealing that. I would, if you want to continue on that way, I would urge you to do that, because that also provides you tamper evidence. And heat sealers are fairly inexpensive, so you can get some tabletop heat sealers that'll work just fine with that kind of packaging. And when you're using we call that a stock package. So they're produced by the millions, which means they're quite inexpensive. So a lot less expensive than if you wanted to make them yourself. So you've got some economies there. And I think you're doing the right thing, customizing that with a label. I also saw that you had looked like a foil back and a transparent front. So the foil's good for attracting the eye because it's reflective. And I mean, that's the aluminum foil that a lot of chocolate bar producers used as the primary pack for their bars is good. Let's talk about the negative. And there's really only one negative that I can think of, and that's that unfortunately chocolate is very sensitive to heat and storage conditions. So what can happen is if it's stored in something other than a cool environment, you'll get some blooming of the cocoa fats. Cocoa butter will rise to the surface and make your bar look kind of chalky or whitish. And if the product melts, it's going to melt and adhere to the package. Now, when in my first job, we had a product that we merchandised in a transparent bag, and it wasn't selling because whenever I went to look at it in the store, it was on the bottom shelf. It was usually crushed, and the product had melted because even though we think of Canada as a cold country, we do have summer, and we don't necessarily have air conditioning. So when the product melted, oh, no one's going to buy that. So what I did for that product line was I kept the transparent bag because it's very good for preserving freshness. It's very easy to seal and package, but I put it inside a folding carton so that the folding carton could have compelling graphics, and it could be merchandised more easily. So we got it from the bottom shelf up to eye level, which is, in a supermarket environment, is the prime territory to be selling in. So I think if you want to continue using the transparent front for the pack, you might want to consider putting it inside some other pack to protect it from the light, it'll provide a little bit of protection from heat. And if there's some imperfections in the product, you can always talk about that. Say, the sign of quality chocolate is, talk around the bloom issue, because that's, when I worked with a client in Honduras. They were trying to make chocolate in a shopping mall, and as soon as I saw their facilities, I said, you got to move. You can't make decent chocolate here. You have no air conditioning. So while I was there, they moved to another space that was air conditioned, and the quality of their chocolate improved because they were able to temper it more reliably because of the environment. So that the storage conditions were just not right in the original location, but in an air-conditioned environment, even in a tropical country like Honduras, they were able to sell quite successfully. So have I answered your questions, or do you have any others?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we are thinking of putting more graphics on it, but so you're saying that having this kind of container without something on top of it, it's more prone to temperature changes? than
It-
having it wrapped in something with, you know, like a wrapper over it, like a cardboard or something like that, because you can adjust all of the, you were saying the temperatures, so you got to
Mhm.
make sure it's cool. And when you ship it, there is just a webinar on that, on shipping and taking care of that.
Mhm.
So I would think that if you, if you adapt your stuff to whatever the temperature is, that wouldn't be as much of an issue, because we're not going to have them on shelves or anything right now.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been shipping them to, actually, we have relatives near Toronto. I just shipped a couple there, but of course it's cold there, so I don't have to worry about it.
Oakville. I'm sure you know.
Okay.
Oakville
Yeah.
and-
Oh, yeah. Yeah. About
Yeah,
20 minutes
so-
away.
Yeah, we just shipped up there, and it was fine. And in Buffalo, around there, we did that. And sometimes I just wait to see what the weather's like too.
Yes.
So I just check the weather for 5 days, send it on a Monday, and I just sent to Arizona, and it was a cold spell. So, I think on one of the webinars they were talking about, making sure that the customer knows too, that you're going to receive it and things like that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I guess all of this stuff is in consideration.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's
It's
also
not-
full foil pouches too, without the transparent front.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are available as well. And probably about the same price.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I personally like to see the product. I mean, I like to see it, and especially if it's got inclusions in it.
Yes.
I think that's for me personally, I just like seeing what I'm getting,
Well, that whole issue of transparency, I really like the concept. And, for things like buying produce, you want to be able to see that the product's fresh. Meat packaging, the same way. When you go into the supermarket in the meat section, they don't want to hide the steak. They want to show you the marbling, the cut, show you that you're not going to get tons of gristle in your steak. Things like that.
Right.
So the transparency is important. I think my concern is more about the potential for if something goes wrong, it's going to be more evident to the
Right.
customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Great
so
feedback.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
a
Yeah.
solution to that could be as simple as doing a paper overwrap.
Mhm.
So like a gift pack. So not necessarily investing in something like a folding carton, which can cost you a lot of money, but
Mhm.
just using like wrapping paper.
Well,
Okay. Thank you.
thanks.
Okay.
That
Sure.
helps.
There is a
Mhm.
few comments in the chat that I thought if you are open to additional feedback. Someone is mentioning that maybe plastic isn't the best option. And I think for myself as a buyer of chocolate, for me, if I saw the plastic, I might not pick it because I have, some concerns about plastic,
Mhm.
environmental as well as, health concerns. And then I think about when you're going to do the heat sealing, is that going to affect your flavor? Does the packaging, is that going to, does the plastic packaging, is it going to impart sometimes when you get plastic, you can smell, it has a smell. Is that going to
Mhm.
impart leave some sort of imprint
Interesting.
on
Yeah.
your hard work?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Excellent feedback, folks. Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
Thanks.
I do love that it's resealable. That's one of my number one favorite things that I talk about for me because it's a savor thing. You're not going to just, right? You want to be able to
Yeah.
savor it. So they do make, sort of a paper one
Mhm.
Ah,
that has the same concept. And I wonder, I haven't seen it yet, but I love the idea, is like have like a peekaboo, like a little circle cut
Yeah,
out
yeah.
that has a little
Mhm.
bit of plastic something there. So you get a little peekaboo
Mhm.
of the strawberry flecks or whatever it is in there. And then it can be resealed. And it also, when you first get it, you have to tear the top.
yeah.
So you tear the top and then it's resealable, like what you have resealable. And there's none of
Okay.
that heat sealing
Yeah.
that might. I've done some heat sealing in the food industry, and that's stinky. It has a stinky smell.
So it would stay as fresh?
What'd you say?
Oh, did you have the mood on? I said, would it be as fresh in the paper and everything? It would be
I
okay
think so.
sealing it
And
in
this
that?
paper
Plastic
is,
liner.
if you see in the inside, it is foil
Foil.
lined.
Okay, yeah,
There
okay,
is a
Really
foil
good.
on the inside,
okay, that's good.
So
paper
and
on the
sometimes
outside.
that brown paper also suggests to someone that it's a sustainable package.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not bleached. It's not not been chemically altered. It's more natural. So those are good things about that form. And Teresa's suggestion about having a window
Mm-hmm.
in there, you'll find that there should be some stock packages like that available. So you just have to do a little research on that, because not
Okay.
everyone makes them, but it is possible.
Okay,
Fantastic.
thanks.
Thanks, folks.
I think we should let Emilio talk next. Because
Yes,
he's
I've
been-
invited Emilio to be a panelist. He's been promoted, so if he'd like to come in and join the gallery, I promoted him.
Emilio, what do you have to show us?
Here he comes. Don't be shy.
Hi, hello.
Hi. I guess it's good morning for you if you're out in California.
Yeah, it was very early for me to wake up today, being a Saturday, I have rest. Yes, good morning, everyone, afternoon, night. I'm Emilio from Equatorial Guinea, and I work in government and in extension, although I'm not trained in extension, but I'm working in extension, and one of the sectors I'm involved in is cacao farming. So in supporting, empowering small-scale farmers of cacao.
Mhm.
So I'm very your presentation, Mr. Ron, is I find it very, very interesting. And I would like to throw maybe two questions, or
Sure.
one is half question, half comment. And I'm chocolate lover. So when I go to supermarkets, most of the time I have to buy one bar of chocolate. So I love it a lot. And what is appealing to me is the color of the package, which mostly like resembles chocolate color, because
Mhm,
when I want to
mhm.
eat chocolate, I have the color in my mind of chocolate,
Mhm.
chocolate color. And as you spoke about colors, the most attractive, like
Oops, we just lost you, Emilio.
You're muted again, Emilio. You're muted, love.
There. Okay, that's
yeah.
okay.
So I would like to ask you, when you design packaging color, and as far as we try to divert or put some colors that are like far away, that doesn't resemble chocolate color, is it not going to affect the clients, the sales? Because I even see the big branches of chocolate, all the packaging colors seem to be like very pure, that typical chocolate color.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, if we do that different, very maybe we think a very innovative color in our package, is it not going to affect the appealing of the client? As
When I worked on caramilk, the colors in the packaging kind of evoked the product itself. So we used a brown, so because it's chocolate, and we used sort of a golden color because it was a liquid caramel center. So we're trying to convey what the flavor was through the use of color. So kind of all work together with the brand name. But if you were in an environment where everybody used brown, then you wouldn't stand out. So things like KitKat, wherever you go in the world, it always is in a red label or red package. It stands out that way from other products. Trying to think of so something like Reese's peanut butter cups come in orange. So no one else is using orange. Maybe deservedly so. Because it's not the greatest color. But the color, there's no hard and fast rule about the color that you should or should not use. They all can work. I've seen packaging in the Philippines that looks like gift wrap. So it's got a pattern to it. It doesn't necessarily mean chocolate. It's not necessarily using colors we associate with chocolate, but it's attractive. And it's a product line, so they have different designs for each variant. I actually have another presentation that I do, which looks at some samples of different packaging to really illustrate the use of the 3 moments of truth. So there's no reason you can't use brown, but the important thing is that you need to stand out from all the other brands in the category.
Okay,
Mrs.
thank
Balu,
you.
are you available to jump in and give a comment? Because I know as part of the Bean to Bar workshop that we host, you do a little bit of a presentation on packaging, and maybe you can provide some insight into, we've heard before that people taste with their eyes first. So to Emilio's point, looking at the packaging and having it look like chocolate for him, his eyes are tasting first that look. But Mrs. Butler, do you have some pearls of wisdom to give about packaging? I'm thinking about 57 chocolate.
Yeah, see, for me, packaging in origin countries, I'm looking at the sustainability. And I wish I brought some packages like we have collected like a lot of the packages. I didn't bring it home. Sorry, I'm working from home today.
If you throw
But
out a company, I might have a wrapper here. So just throw out a company and I'll dig around to see what I got.
so I'm looking at the packaging that we had from Brazil that's made of the cocoa leaf. That's
Ah,
what
that
I
I don't
wanted
have.
to share. I
That I
don't
don't have.
think I might find the picture after the webinar and I can send it later in the email.
Mm.
So, but what we got, this one I got it in like 2013 from Brazil and it's still staying good. It's in our showcase in the office. Actually, they took the cocoa leaf and made it into like a long oval shape um, packaging with just a small plastic window so you can see what is inside. So those are the things you should do in the origin countries. When you're exporting, yes, you can spend a lot of money on packaging because you have to put it on the shelf. But within the country, or when you give it as even selling within the country to tourists, they like the eco packaging, and that way you are also employing your neighbors to do something. It's not
Mm.
like you're share. You're helping not just your own business, but you're also helping your neighbors. So that's the only thing right now I have, but because Ron is a big expert, better expert, he has done a lot more. We are just, he has like more than 30, 40 years of experience. So I will let
Well,
him comment on it. So,
Would you
I,
say, Mrs. Balu, that a point to make would be for Emilio is to think about what is the story that you want to tell,
yeah,
and
mhm.
then that would be like sort of the basis for how you build your packaging concept.
yeah.
What's the story that you want to tell?
See, three things to consider, right? Who is your, audience? Like, who are you selling it to?
Mhm.
And what story you want to say and how you want to say. So, if you know who you are going to sell it to, then depending on that, you see also the affordability, right? Because when we went to Peru, we were telling the farmers, you can make a chocolate and sell it. And the farmer's question is, no, you're saying that I can make chocolate, but I have to sell the chocolate for 3 solos. That's their local currency. But I can get a lunch for 3 solos. And chocolate is still a luxury for the farmers because we are not compensating them enough for their cocoa beans. So he says, if I have 3 solos, I would rather buy food for my family instead of sending on a piece of bar. So how do I make money, right? So that's how you have to look at a lot of economic things, depending on who you are selling to, because the price depends on that. So when you have to sell at a lower price, then you have to make sure your cost of production goes down so that you can meet their need and still you can make money.
And I think you raise a really good point, and it's a fundamental thing in marketing. Understand who your customer is. The better you understand who your customer is, the better you'll be able to create products that they'll enjoy, and you'll be able to help brief a designer in conveying that message to your customers. Because in the absence of advertising, your packaging has to work like that. So if your packaging is effective in selling your product to consumers because it resonates with them, then you have a much more effective package than you have a much more effective package. But understanding who your customer is absolutely essential. It's rule number one in marketing. And when I teach marketing, or introductory marketing, that's where we start. I get them to actually describe their customers as people. So we call it a persona. And it's a way of, in the days of advertising, in the sort of the heyday of advertising in the 50s and 60s, it was the advertising agency that did all that. And they, it was their idea that who the customer should be. But nowadays, it's much easier for you to describe your target customer as a person, because it's like introducing them as a character in a story. So, how much do they earn? Are they male? Are they female? Where do they work? What do they do in their off time? Do they read a lot of books? Do they spend a lot of time on social media? So the more you understand your consumer, the better your packaging ultimately will be. And the same thing with your products. If your target customer loves inclusions, then make all your bars with inclusions of different kinds, and try to find inclusions that nobody else is using, that you're the only ones who are doing it that way. So when I go to tropical countries and I taste some of the fruits there, I mean, we don't get stuff like that. We used to think a banana was exotic. When I was growing up, we didn't have avocados. So a banana was exotic fruit. So when you can put something like that into your product, it has it really adds to the value for the customer.
Thank you.
I don't know if it helps, but I wanted to share really quick in terms of, sort of storytelling. We did a webinar with 𝗪𝗲𝗶𝗴𝗃 a while back, and I happened to have some bars from them. So I asked why the very distinct difference in the packaging. This is a very light butcher paper with a sort of rudimentary stamp on it with their label, and then some information stuck inside. And then this is more of a what you might see in a store with the glossy packaging and the label like that. And what she told me was that the reason they chose this and this packaging is because this was a hand ground. They were telling this, they were starting to tell the story of what's inside. So
Mhm.
very simple packaging because it was made in a very different way than this bar, which was made, you know, in a refiner, a little different. So hand ground, and then, you know, not mass produced, but made in machines. So they, you know, very different packaging for a different story to be told.
Let me, can I talk a little bit about that first package? Because I really like that. The materials are simple. I think it looks really elegant because of the simplicity. So it's not busy in any sense, and the design on the back is very much about chocolate. One of my clients in Honduras has a resort, and one of the activities he has for his guests is making chocolate exactly that way. So they have to grind, and they make it into a bar that they can take home with them. So it's a great experience for the guest to understand more what goes into making a chocolate bar. So I like the simplicity of the label, the colors, the printing on the back, the idea of having a little insert which tells more of a story. But that was a really elegant package, and that to me adds a lot of value to it. So if you told me that was an $8 chocolate bar, I would say, yep.
Okay. Did that help, Emilio?
Yes, a lot. I detect a lot of notes,
Okay, good, good.
and I will end up with the last one. Okay, I saw your organization, and you have very cross-country activity. And I would like to ask if I have a small NGO in my country, Equatorial Guinea, which support farmers, and I want to, I mean, how could I reach you out, your organization, and to get any kind of support?
Sure, I can connect you with the right people. We have teams that work in East Africa and West Africa. So in West Africa, we have French-speaking volunteers that work. So in East Africa, English-speaking. So yeah, we're able to go wherever we need to. I just need to put you in touch with the right folks here at headquarters.
Would be
Right.
grateful.
So, and there's contact information at the end of the presentation. So when you, I'm not sure if you're going to download that or whether it'll be emailed to you, but you can go to the website and check us out. But feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll make some introductions for you.
Definitely, thank you.
And I see a question here from Sharon about telling a story. And what we call storytelling is really making your product more memorable and giving people a reason for buying it. In Ecuador, there's a company called 𝗪𝗵𝗺𝗀𝗴𝗃 del and their whole story is about fair trade, treating the growers respectfully, making sure that they are able to share in the profits. But when talking about that story, they're really telling how the product is grown, how it's organic. What does organic exactly mean, and what are the benefits of organic? What does fair trade mean? Because fair trade is a term that gets bandied around, but as a story, it's really ensuring that the small farmer is realizing a better quality of life and income, because a lot of in the European manufacturers in Belgium and Switzerland, they're making millions of money off small farmers who maybe have a couple of hectares of cacao growing, and they're selling through a distributor. So someone's making a lot of money out of this. We'd like to see better wealth distribution. I see another question here about lead and cadmium. I can't comment on that, Leslie.
Ron, if you'll indulge me for just a moment, I'll just provide some sort of examples of storytelling, like just to
Okay.
give there's like, I have 𝗬𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗃 chocolate. Oh, he's telling the story of his culture through the wrapper, right? It's an Indian brand. So that's the story that he's, I think that he's wanting to tell. Right, so it's a personalized, I think, thing, what story you want to tell. Island shark, they're in Hawaii. So the story that they're telling is that, that they're in Hawaii, based on the color, the design. Trying to find the company name here. Mrs. Butler, maybe you recognize it. I think this came from your trip to
That's the Colombia.
Colombia,
The
right?
name is on the top. That's the Choco. What's it? I cannot read very well from here.
Oh, sorry. Can you see it? And the
Late
story
Choco.
they're telling is about
Yeah.
the local ingredients. And then when you open the packaging, take the bars out, but when you open the packaging, they're telling the story of the region. They're telling the story of the farmers.
Yeah. That's called the Late Choco.
That's right, late Choco.
Actually, I think it's latte choco. I think, I don't know, because they use a lot of exotic fruits that they were talking about.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And notice also that was not a rectangular bar. That was a square shape.
Yeah, square.
So that makes it stand out from other products as well. And I like that idea of using the inside of the package to tell the story. If you want to think about storytelling in another sense, it could be guiding someone to what to expect from the flavors, what to look for. So if you go to to wineries, they love to talk about how their vineyards might be southwest facing to take the gentle breezes off the Pacific, and they talk about the rainfall and the soil and things like that, and how that contributes to the flavor of the wine. And usually you have to have someone who's an expert, like a sommelier, tell you what to look. Oh yeah, I do smell lemons in that, or I do smell grapefruit. So if you can do things like that, and I've seen some chocolatiers actually have a little diagram which explains the sort of the taste experience. It's it's bitter versus sweet, or creamy, or crunchy, things like that. So talking about texture, flavors, is it fruity? Is it because sometimes I have a chocolate and I just find it's tastes like fruit. I couldn't describe it, but that's one of the reasons why I might go back and have that brand again, is because it doesn't just taste like chocolate. There's something more to it. Do you think I'm passionate about chocolate?
Mohammed has a question, and I would like to promote him to panelists if he'd like to come on.
One second, Teresa, Shannon has been waiting for long as a panelist. So you want to let Shannon talk first?
Shannon, what came on and talked about her
No,
at
that was
home.
Sharon.
Oh, Sharon.
Yeah, this is Shannon. She hasn't talked yet. Shannon, yeah.
Hi,
Okay, I
Shannon.
was just going to the top of, I was going back, at 10:30 to the top of the top of the list and gonna work my way down, so.
So I had a quick comment about telling a story. So I'm here in California and I make chocolate simply for my friends and give it as gifts. And so I have them in a little bag and have some details about the package. But I had a lot of friends, as I gave people a bar, ask me what I'm actually doing with the chocolate. And so I'm doing bean to bar, but some people thought I was just taking 𝗪𝗛 bars and putting it in a nice mold. And so what I did is I wrote, what are the steps that I use in making chocolate, so that
Okay.
I was able to use a graphic, and I would talk to them about, I'm roasting the beans, I'm cracking them, I'm winnowing, grinding them, mixing and heating, blocking, temper, molding, and wrapping. And it really gave a good opportunity for us to talk about how chocolate is made and provided a good education opportunity. And so while it's a little busy, it was instructive for both of us. And then they better understood that I'm actually doing something with the beans. I'm not just unwrapping 𝗪𝗛 bars and molding them into my own product.
Yeah, boy, let's see. I think that we call that putting lipstick on a pig.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's,
I mean, 𝗪𝗪's okay as chocolate goes. It's a quality product, but it's not in the same category or league as what you guys are making. A question: do you have a website?
I do not. I just am doing this for fun.
Okay. I was going to say, showing those the processes is good, because I don't think a lot of people appreciate how difficult it is, or how many steps are involved, how much work goes in to making a bar. And I did you have molding in there as well?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Mold is right there.
Okay. Yeah, because there's an art to that.
Yeah, even wrapping, some people think that's not much of a step, but it's a lot of work to wrap each bar.
I'll bet.
One thing I appreciated in your presentation, Ron, was you talked about protection and kind of durability of packaging. And so I made these bars and was real happy with, how I had done the printing and have the information on the back. And then a friend gave me the package back after they were finished with the bar. And you can see that the paper I was using was uncoated. And so the chocolate mark, as they took the bar in and out and put pieces in and took the pieces out, got really kind of marred up. And so I switched to a coated paper, which was food grade. And so this is an example of the packaging after the bar was eaten, kind of with the new paper compared to the old. And so had someone not given this back to me, I never would have known that it looked so messy.
That's what we call feedback.
Yeah. So that was really helpful. And I also appreciated the comments about transparency and sustainability. And so I use compostable bags. But I didn't think to actually note that on the back. And so maybe an improvement that I learned through this is to tout those eco-friendly, sustainable benefits in the packaging as well. I knew it, but the people that I give the bar to might not know it. So.
Show me the bar again, because I think you've got an unusual mold. Yeah, now we can see the shape. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And I do I really like inclusions. And so I have been doing some inclusions that are all specific to my region. And so I have the description of, each of them on the back. This is my sampler pack. But I have the inclusions, and I want people to be able to see that this is puffed black forbidden rice, or this is orange zest, or this is dried strawberry, so they know which one they're eating. So the transparency is important to me, but I also believe in the sustainability with using a compostable bag too.
When I got started in box chocolates, we had what we called a roadmap. So it was basically a piece of paperboard that was printed with the shapes of the different chocolates and what kind of center they had. So if you could tell, usually the square ones were chewy. The round ones or the oval shaped ones had some kind of a fondant center. And the nuts usually were kind of self-explanatory. If you could see which was a Brazil nut and, versus which was an almond, for example.
Great.
I like the roadmap idea. See, there's no single right way to do packaging, and what you're doing is you're personalizing your product. You're making it unique from someone else's. So if you worry about not being like everybody else, don't worry about that. Save yourself some aggravation and vive la différence. You must be from Northern California?
Central Coast, Monterey Peninsula.
Oh, cool. Nice area.
Thank you.
Shannon, I just want to give you one feedback on your project. The thing I like is, in the same bar, you have different inclusions, so people can try different. It's like a sampler package, all in one bar. So,
yeah.
And if whatever the flavor they like, then they can order it with that flavor for the whole thing. So I think that's a great idea, because usually only in ganache or something you can put the different things. Otherwise, people have to buy 10 different bars to, taste the 10 different inclusions. But yours is a great idea. I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And it's all local. I even played off the fact that I'm near Cannery Row, where anchovies and sardines have history. And I even have a bar that has dried anchovy dust. That sometimes scares people off, but it's something that's, to Ron's point, really unique, and not everybody can get anchovy dust in their chocolate.
You need that guided tasting to get people over the psychological hurdle. It's like when you see something like sea salt in there, in chocolate. When I worked with craft brewers, one of the things that the brewmasters would tell me is, stout goes with chocolate. What do you mean? It's beer and chocolate and beer don't go together at all. But here, try it. So try stout with a chocolate cake. And so having someone who can guide you on the flavors and what goes together. Cannabis infused chocolate. Yes, been there, done that. For those who don't know, cannabis is legal in Canada. I have seen some cannabis chocolate. I'm not sure about that. Is it good chocolate? No, not really. People aren't buying it for the chocolate. They're buying it for the cannabis. But
so, Mohammed,
anything goes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Mohammed, would you like to come in and ask your question? I hope he's still here. Okay, I can read the question for him. The question is, there are many chocolate package layouts. How can we choose the best based on operating and artistic feel? That's a loaded subjective question, I think.
That is a hard one. So yes, you do have a lot of options. I think I said earlier, don't be afraid of being different, because in a marketing context, that's a good thing. It helps your product stand out from everybody else. It can help direct attention to your product over someone else who doesn't have as good a design. I think if we think about who's making the purchase, if it's a male purchaser versus a female purchaser, that might make a difference, because I think women have a better sense of style than men do. And it's not surprising that women do most of are the big purchasers of products in supermarkets, because it's been their lot to be the grocery shopper. Now, some men are enlightened. I like doing the shopping, but I buy differently from my wife. What appeals to me might not appeal to her in the same way. Our daughter has a great sense of design. So when I get gifts from her, they're always special because she's put thought into them, and they're unique. And that uniqueness is important. It's why if you look at an array of products, so when I was in Lima last fall, I went to a supermarket there because I wanted to try some of the local chocolate. And so I saw a shelf section with lots of different products. Which ones should I buy? So I picked a lot of them up and I read them. And ultimately I picked a couple because I liked how the packaging was unique, and I wanted to see what was inside. And that's talking about the persuasiveness of the packaging. So to me, as an engineer and a marketer, the form of the package was speaking to me. But as a consumer, I was just plain curious. What does this taste like? And so I only was able to buy a couple of brands, but I went back and I bought them again because they didn't last long, and they tasted really good. And I brought some back for my wife to try because we like to share the experience. So uniqueness is an important part. What you say on the packaging, so important messages. So things like, are the beans grown organically? Are you, how are you making this? Is this large scale manufacturing like Hershey or Nestle, or is it small scale? Is it, when you talk about artisanal, it's a very powerful word because it really says more than just, so in one sense, it means sort of a primitive way of making something, but it can also mean that you're making it with love and with care, and that's important too to people. So it's not mass produced. I'm not sure if I'm answering Mohammed's question or just kind of spouting off my philosophies about chocolate packaging.
Yeah, I think you hit the nose. Oh, well, I think that you mentioned it earlier that there's not one right answer. I was going to say hit the nail on the head. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, just with what I've seen today from different people, seeing the use of pouches, that's unique. Does that make it wrong? No, that could be very good. It could be very powerful. It's certainly good for the product, for preserving the product. And it's a different presentation, so it stands out from everybody else. It can also mean you can merchandise it in different ways. So if you punch a hole in that pouch, you can hang it on a peg. You can't do that with a regular chocolate bar like you bought. So that's different. And that difference is what's going to guide a shopper's eye to gravitate towards your product at the exclusion of others. So like I said, in the three moments of truth, you've got to get their attention. If you don't get their attention, they're not going to buy you. If you get them to pick the product up off the shelf and look at it, you've probably increased your chances of making a sale by a factor of 50-60%. Just the fact that they're holding it means that there's a very high likelihood they're going to put it in the basket or in their shopping cart. So those first two moments of truth are where your consumers are actually making their purchase decisions and actually making the purchase. You just have to deliver on that promise when they get the product home and eat it, assuming they get it home and don't just wait until they get into the car and crack it open.
Okay, we're getting near the top of the hour, and I know that this topic probably we won't be able to fully dive into it, but there's some comment and question about, well, let me, legislation on packaging, USDA regulations, approvals. There was also some talk about, cadmium and other things that are happening in the industry. Can't really answer the question about that, but we can talk about it maybe in terms of packaging.
We can talk about some of those regulatory things, because you're wherever you are, whichever country you're working in, you'll have some kind of regulation about packaging. So usually it will involve some kind of a declaration about the weight or some kind of measure of what it is you're providing. So it could be 12 pieces, it could be 100 grams, 60 grams, whatever. Those are usually regulated, and they'll tell you in many cases how prominent that has to be. So how visible, how much space on your label it has to occupy. Other things that are probably likely to be required is going to be origin. So being able to provide contact information. So where was the product produced? What's your address? So if someone had a complaint or a compliment, can they get in touch with you? So if you have your mailing address on there, that's step one. That allows snail mail. If you have a website or an email address on there, that's also a good way to enable people to contact you and give you some feedback. And sometimes the feedback may come back as negative, but that feedback, even negative, can be helpful if it's helping you correct something in your process or in your packaging that will make it ultimately better. I worked for a boss in nanotechnology, and he said you weren't doing R&D if you hadn't had an explosion or a major fire in your lab. So that's kind of, he was German, just different approach to the world. But the message was, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. And the way you learn is by making mistakes. So there's an element of trial and error. And hopefully with webinars like this and others that you get from Cocotown, you may learn to make more trial and less error along the way. And that's what we all hope is the outcome for you as chocopreneurs.
So does anyone else have any questions? We have like 7 minutes left regarding packaging. So if anyone else wants to show their picture of their packaging or the actual packaging.
Yeah, that's fun when you can do that.
I have a comment on something I picked up in the conversation. When you said that, the new definition of an artist, the people who are using their handmade and all that.
Oh, no, you're not coming. Okay, that's Dr. 𝗏𝗏𝗀 coming in once again. I think he's on mute or something.
No, I think Mrs. 𝗏𝗏, there you go. If you're in the same room or you're near each other. Okay, Mr. 𝗏𝗏, go.
Yes, okay. I put it on speaker and then I didn't realize I'm talking to the phone. Okay. Now, what I was saying is, I got a new definition for artisanal. You know, there is the people say that why mom cooked food is better than the food you buy anywhere else, because of the love you put in. So artisanal chocolate, when people make it, they are not just making chocolate. You know, the way the people that pack it, the people that clean it, people that do everything, they put their mind and thoughts to it. So you don't get that in industrial chocolate. If you put some spiritual value to that, you know, when we go to the exhibition trade shows in the cocoa growing countries, we love to buy that chocolate. Doesn't matter how it looks. It's made by individual families. Well, when they feel proud of making that,
Yes.
that feeling goes along with chocolate. That is the artisanal chocolate. You don't get it anywhere else. Yeah, thanks.
I remember trying some. I was really curious about trying some Aztec chocolate when I was in Mexico, and we were in the Yucatan Peninsula, and there was a place that had very simple chocolate, and so they infused some of it with chili. I thought, oh, what's that going to be like? The only way to know is to try it. So we got involved. Was it fine chocolate like you maybe find from Belgium or Switzerland? No, but okay. So this is getting back to the origins of chocolate, and it's a product that's evolved, become a lot more sophisticated.
Thank you, Mr. Balu, for your comment. And I would say for me, that at origin chocolate is a fine chocolate. All the craft chocolate and artisanal chocolate is fine chocolate to me.
Yeah, I agree, Teresa, because the fineness is not in the particle size or the love that goes in.
Yes.
Half and the time people spend.
Yes.
I had a client in the Philippines, and he was an engineer, so he built a lot of his own equipment. So he was also a grower, so for fermenting. So we talked a lot about the process. But one of the things he brought out after he took me through his operation was a product in a bottle, and it was cacao wine. He said he didn't know what to do with this. He found he could make it, but he didn't know, is there a market for something like this? So, okay, let's have a taste. And it was amazing. I said, this is better than you think it is. It's got a wonderful, complex flavor. And if you were to put that in a bottle, I would suggest selling it for something like $35 or $40 a bottle. Because we have a product that's not unique to Canada, but we're known for it, called ice wine. It's a product that's the grapes are harvested at night when the grapes are frozen, and what results from that is a very sweet wine, but with some complex flavors. And it's a dessert wine. It's not something you would have with roast beef or fried chicken. It's something for dessert. And I found that the cacao wine was just like that. Okay, now package it like wine. Like look at other wines and draw from the way they approach that. I found the same thing in Honduras. One of my clients there was doing the same thing. I said, you're charging like $5 a bottle for this. You should be charging more like $50 a bottle. This is really something special. You're not marketing it as effectively as you could be. Are you selling it? Yes. Could you sell more of it? Depends on how much you can produce. But the real thing is, can you make money out of this? You can make a lot more money if you understand the sort of the intrinsic value and the uniqueness of this product and market it that way. So you could actually, like, literally take the price up by an order of magnitude 10 times.
Okay, we are at the top of the hour. So what I would like to do really quick is, Ron, in one sentence, tell us what the main thing you want us to take away from. I know it's going to be hard to do it in one sentence, but if you can, in one sentence, tell us the key thing that you want us to remember from your presentation, or the main morsel that you think is the most important thing to go away with.
Remember to make your product unique and use the principles that I've laid out, that I've exposed you to today, to help you judge the design for uniqueness when you're presented with design. And just if you have questions, we can do those offline. The folks from Cocotown will share my contact information so you can get in touch with me directly, and send me pictures. Happy to answer all your questions.
Great, thank you. I will just make just two comments, and then I'll turn it over to Mrs. Balu. I know in the chat there were questions that were sort of slightly off topic, and things that we only have a certain amount of time, so we didn't cover those things. But we will use that information to inform the possibility for future webinars, since there's some interest in particular topics that we don't have time to talk about everything today. And then the last thing I say before I turn it over is piggyback off of what Mr. Balu said. I just want to thank all of you for putting your love and your hard work and your passion into those chocolate bars. As someone who consumes them, I'm a big fan. I appreciate all of you for what you do. So I just wanted to say thank you. Y'all are making fine chocolate, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Balu.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone who participated this event, because without your participation, this webinar will not be meaningful. And then thanks, Ron, for sharing your expertise and giving the feedback for the people, who participated, who were brave enough to show their, wrappers and get the feedback. The other people, if you're shy, you can do it offline by email to Ron, and also, or send the email, information. We can, we will be sending the recording and Ron's presentation, everything. You will get it. You know, the only thing is, like, the first 10 minutes we did not record it, so I'm going to ask Ron to come offline later, and we will record it and add it to this. Sorry about that. And then, so please do what you do, and you're all doing good. Just believe in your product, believe in your destiny. You can write your own destiny, because when you work hard, the universe, responds to it. So I always want to just to finish with that. We say loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. It just, the translate to, may all beings everywhere in the universe be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and to that freedom for all. So we always want all of you to stay happy, healthy, and free. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today, and thanks to the folks at Cocotown for making it more interactive than I thought it was going to be. So that made it a good experience for me as a presenter as well, getting to meet all of you.
Yeah, only one more request I have, because please, send us your feedback, because that will be, motivation for us to keep bringing more thing. And also, it's the, for the presenter Ron, all he is expecting is your feedback, because he has shared so much of knowledge. So please just take 2 minutes to write the feedback about today's webinar, what you learned and what we can improve, if we can need to improve any of them. So please send that, spend the 2 minutes.
Yes, keep an eye out in your inbox. You'll receive the webinar recording link, and in that email there'll be a link to a survey, and you can provide your feedback there. You can let us know what other topics you'd like discussed. You can let us know what you learned from this presentation, how we can do it better. It's all there in that survey. Also, if this had value to you and you feel called to do it, we would love a Google review, a review on our website. It helps us. It helps also bring awareness for other people so they can take advantage. These webinars are done at no cost to the attendees through the gracious gift of the presenters. So we would appreciate it.
Y también la presentación es disponible en español. So if you would, if you'd like to get a Spanish language version, if that would be helpful to you, we have that available as well.
Yeah, we do have the slide presentation in Spanish. Yes. Okay. 12:05. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day or good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Weekend
Thank
ahead,
you.
and then share it with everyone. Thank you.